This is Kayla Bergeron. I was a survivor of the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. 19 years later, I graduated from Forsyth County Accountability Court, the program for dual diagnosis. That's where I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and alcoholism. For years I was told I was one of the lucky ones to have survived. But all these years later, come to the conclusion that no one was lucky that day. Immediately following the attacks, after I dusted myself off literally and flagged down Port Authority police officers at the Holland Tunnel, I gathered my staff, got help from public information officers from New York and New Jersey, and we went to work around the clock. We went from rescue to recovery, explaining to the media what had happened at all the major transportation facilities that the public Port Authority ran. And then we went to the rebuilding process, which was an enormous project given the varying points of view in the region. Rebuild the towers, don't rebuild the towers, release the transcripts to the newspapers, and the families didn't want that, but we came up with a process to get the transcript of many cases of their last voices of their loved ones. And 17 years later, the wheels fell off for me. DUI number 1. I still didn't put it together. I knew I felt bad physically. I wasn't a first responder. I wasn't military. I wasn't a victim of domestic violence. I didn't have what we see in the movies. I did have flashbacks and tremors, but I wasn't exactly sure what that meant. And the hypervigilance, the brain just takes over everything. And there's no time, really, for the body and soul to heal. And not knowing what it was before I was diagnosed, the only way I could get relief was through alcohol. So I'm grateful for this program, because that put the pieces together for me and changed my life with the dual diagnosis of alcoholism and PTSD. That was a breakthrough. So a robust regimen of accountability, individual therapy, group therapy, random drug test anywhere to 2 to 7 days per week, recovery meetings, court. It's a very intense program, but when people violate the law, you either go to jail or there's an alternative that can give you treatment and teach you how to live, really. I think people with drug and alcoholism are wired differently. Maybe it's genetics. It's hard to say. Anyway, even though I just graduated from this program, I look at it as a start. And approaching the 19th anniversary, I did an interview with someone from Scotland yesterday, and I told my story for the first time in a year. And the trauma still exists no matter what we do. Even if we make progress, it shows its ugly head without a warning. And so that's where I am now. I'm rising from the ashes, literally, by the grace of God. Although, if an angel asked me when I was trapped in the tower whether or not I wanted to live or give someone else the chance, I'd give someone else the chance. Maybe they could have seen the signs earlier and gotten treatment. But now I'm spending my life in recovery and trying to help people recover, to become a resource and a mentor to help the courts, which are investing resources as a second chance for nonviolent offenders. So I just want to say thank you. I remember all of my colleagues in the Port Authority. I remember 33 plus funerals. I remember those hours immediately following attacks. We didn't know who was dead. We didn't know who was alive. And the CEO asked me to start a database to figure out who was dead and who was alive. So I called someone from another department, asked her to come in, and thank God she was alive. She'd gotten on the last train that stopped before going into the World Trade Center from New Jersey. She started an Excel spreadsheet. The news media helped us by putting out a temporary website, and the way we put out the word to figure out who was dead and alive was phone number for Port Authority employees who need to know where to report. Call this number. Call loved ones, or for the other line, for family members who haven't heard from them. That's what matters to me. And frankly, the way I got through it was working side by side with people who just went to work that day and did their jobs around the clock. Many of them still are in the shadows. They may not know they have a problem. They may be drinking or drugging, but they've been forgotten in terms of resources, and that's why I try to step up where I can to be supportive. I've done some interviews which have led to anybody from the fire department to the police department to civilians. That's been a blessing, and we now keep in touch. But the key is connection and to try to help. Someone asked me the other day, what's my legacy? I'm not interested in the legacy. I'm just interested in being helpful where I can. So I'm helpful for the Forsyth County, Georgia Accountability Program, the judge, the legal team, the treatment team. I'm also appreciative to Special Questions of Georgia, which is where I am right now with the horses. It's where I find my peace. I call it Peaceville. It's where my brain relaxes and allows so much to seep out and to give me rest. And my family and my friends who stood by me all along. So on this 19th anniversary, I'm a grateful person. And if there are any survivors out there who need to talk, look me up on Facebook. Thank you.